Hey, what's going on, people? Me and Cordero here chopping it up about how to market to sellers. And not just how to market to sellers, when to market to sellers, when to change your marketing scheme. And this is like the lifeline of a wholesaling business. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to answer your questions. And I think the key in all of this is just make sure you're talking to as many people as possible, right? Getting in touch with as many people as possible is the key. And especially when we're talking about reverse wholesaling, getting in touch with people that actually fit what buyers are looking for. And I think that's one big thing, y'all jumping into me and Cordero's conversation. We was doing Facebook ads, and we still getting leads from Facebook ads, but it's like, I don't even know if it, I don't know if it fits kind of what like the reverse wholesaling and what I really want to do or what I have been doing. Even though I'm looking for different marketing channels to do, it's like, okay, what fits into what I do well? That's another thing you got to consider too. It's like,
Yeah,
what you do well? You know, what I do well is cash buyers. I find properties for them that fit what they're looking for, is providing that service, right? So being able to do that is based on having cash buyers, knowing what they want, and be able to target specific people, right? So I think that's big, which I'm not allowed to do that with certain type of marketing. So I need to do certain type of marketing that allows me to stay in my wheelhouse, inside of what I do well. So, and me and Cordero is just having a conversation here,
yeah.
you know.
Byron, let me ask you this. Now, and then, I mean, we're just having a conversation here, man. Do you think that it's like, because we were talking a lot about recently, we were just talking about how, like, if you want to get into something new, you got to kind of have the runway. You got to know that that's something you can add. Um, as you can see, the title, the topic of this is how to market to sellers. So you got to understand in your business, you're going to have different marketing and or prospecting channels, right? So let me give you an example of what that looks like. For if I have a couple of them, I make cold call, that's one channel. Text messaging, that's another channel. I do bandit signs, that's another channel. Facebook, PPC, these are different channels. I got Instagram, and people be hitting me up on my IG sending me deals. That's a channel, right? Avenue by which deals and opportunities come to you or leads come to you that you can convert into deals. And so when we say how to market, it's like, how do you pick which channel you're going to go with? If you're a newer person, you're like, well, how do I pick which channel I'm going to start with? And then if you're like us, it's just like, we may have our base, like our fundamental, like this is the channel that is the base. This is the channel is the lifeline. And then when we want to add to improve upon or to grow or to expand, how do you decide which ones you should add? And Byron just made a great point. It really needs to fit within your overall business, because if your whole thing, it really needs to fit within your overall, like what you've built, how your company is already set up, what you do best. It needs to fit, but then having the runway to test it out, because I mentioned this before. There's really a threshold. Like, for example, it's a certain amount in cold calling. It's a certain amount of dialing that you have to do, and then there's like, oh man, you get a lot of deals. But if you don't hit that, then it's like you get no deals. It's like an all or nothing sort of situation. So you can't jump in the dialer for 1 hour and be like, man, I did a lot. If you're not willing to
Hey
do,
Cordero, what if I hired Cordero to do cold calling, to handle all my cold calling for me? He got my VAs, and all I do is just send him leads, and he call them. And let's say I send Cordero 50,000 leads, and he called all of them, and I get, let's say, 5 leads out of all those, and
hey,
all five of them have listed their property. All five of them have listed their property. They want too much for their property, and they're not even really motivated to sell.
First of all,
It's like, then what?
hold on. Well, I know that's a hypothetical, but if you send $50 to
Hey, we're just
Cordero,
having a conversation here.
this is exactly why I say that, by the way, because the person you're talking to, I'm like, hold on, wait. I'm just speaking in hypothetical terms. If you send 50,000 leads to Cordero, you're gonna get way more than 5 leads, by the way, and they're not gonna be garbage. A lot of them may be like on a spectrum of interest level, but they're not gonna be garbage. But basically, what he's saying is, if you do like go into that direction, let's say you hire somebody, and let's say you can clearly see that this is like all the signs are pointing to this person is trash. Then, and this is what we were just talking about, is like when it comes to the runway, maybe I'm just like, no. I know those 5 were garbage, and you send me 50,000, but just send me another 50,000, and then send me 50,000 more, and then pay me $5,000 up front to get you to start calling these and all of this. Send me another 5,000, and it will work out. I'm sure it might. I just have full faith in anybody. Like there's a saying, I can't win them all, but I can't keep losing. So I'm thinking if anybody is willing to just do it and do it for long enough, you got to understand we're talking about a spectrum here when it comes to the runway that you have for a new marketing channel that you're trying out. You don't want to quit too soon, and you don't want to go too far in the wrong direction, because believe it or not, it's like people have both problems. Some people don't know that, all right, I've gone too far in the wrong direction, and then other people quit way too soon, right? Yeah. So you need to have an idea or range, and this is the important part. When we're talking about like the runway, you need to have, it just in business in general, you need to have your gut instinct. You need to, and as you go along in business and you get more perspective and you got some reference between what was working, what it looks like to be successful and it doesn't, as you grow, as you mature in business, you will have more reference, and you will have more, your gut instincts become more and more sharp to say, I don't think that's the right direction, right? I don't really think. I just don't really think that's just the right direction, or this is the right direction. I believe we just need to push harder. I believe it. We just need to push a little bit harder. Your intuition should be able to take over. And don't forget, that's an element of business that a lot of people don't talk about. But Byron, what would you say? How do you discern between this is my intuition and us? Oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we're very impatient, or can be impatient, or we're going to at least feel impatient, whether we have the ability to be consistent or not. And so it's just like, how do you discern between, this is my intuition telling me to go in a different direction, or I'm just being impatient? How do you know the difference?
Shoot, man, I think you look at the signs, you know what I'm saying? And you sit there and just think, and just give me your brain time to think and looking at signs. You know what I'm saying? I think you look at the signs and you think, and then you seek counsel. You know what I'm saying? You talk to people that's been there, who've done that, who know what they're doing and stuff like that, other successful business people. You take good counsel and you look at the signs, and you see if you got traction. You know what I'm saying? Right. If something is creating traction, then you can build on traction. If it's not creating traction, then it's not creating traction. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to make adjustments. That's it, man. You have to make adjustments. If not creating traction, you make adjustment. If it's creating traction, then you build on that, build on that, build on that. You know what I'm saying? If I'm doing something, if I'm cold calling, I'm getting leads. Oh, this sounds might be a deal. You building on it, you building on it, you building on it, you building on it. You know what I'm saying? If you put in the work that's required and you're getting some results, you just keep building on that. You know what I'm saying? If you're texting people and they're texting you back and you getting somewhere in conversations, it's like you keep building on that. You keep going. If I was texting people and nobody texts back, you know what I'm saying? I got one a day. I need to make an adjustment. like something ain't right. If I'm cold calling and I cold call 4 hours and only get 5 people on the phone, I need to make an adjustment. Something is going on. Like you gotta know whether you getting traction or whether you're not getting traction. If you're not getting traction, you have to try to make an adjustment, right? And if you feel like you made the correct adjustment and it's still not working, you might need to look to do something else. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's kind of how I do. I do something. I say maybe I'm doing it wrong. I make the adjustment that I feel that I can make to get it right. And if it's still not working, it's not that it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? I just understand my runway. It's like you got to understand your runway and understand, okay, I got this much room in front of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, okay, once I get here, I need to be to cut this way or I need to cut this way. Because if I keep going straight and don't make a cut, I'm finna run into something. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go here or I gotta go there. But I gotta go one way or the other because I only got this much space in front of me. You know what I'm saying? I know if I'm cold calling and it costs $250 a month, it's like, okay, I know I got 3 months of runway. I know I got 2 months of runway. Either I got to create more runway or I got to be creating some traction. You know what I'm saying? I know what kind of runway I got. So you got to identify your runway, right? And then you got to be willing to make adjustments based on that and based on the traction that you get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Nah, you're absolutely right. And it's just like I think the key there is those adjustments. Like sometimes it's not just jump off the train all the way. If you cold calling for 4 hours and only get 5 people on the phone, you can say, maybe my contact rate, maybe I don't have enough phone numbers, maybe the quality of my skip trace is poor. Like check all of those because ultimately, I think the best leaders and the people that's going to have the most success in the end are the people who just take responsibility regardless. Like it's always my fault.
Yeah.
It's always something that I can do to adjust it. But if you ultimately, I think a big part for me is discerning between impatience and intuition is I got to be able to say, okay, I've done everything that I can check all the boxes in my head. I felt like, because I'm just that type of person. It's just like, I feel like I got to do this, that, and the other. And I feel like, man, if I'm looking at it, I'm cold calling, I'm like, dude, I made sure I got the best skip tracing. I sought counsel. I talked to everybody. Say, who do you use for skip tracing? Who does the top of the top guys that are having success? Who do they use for their skip tracing? Use that skip tracing. I got the right leads. I got the right phone numbers. I'm doing everything that I know that I'm supposed to do, and it still ain't, it ain't really popping off. Then I'm just
and it still might be you. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you don't need to go do something else.
I could go.
It's like it still might be you, but you still have to identify runway. You know what I'm saying? And you either gotta make something happen to extend the runway. You know what I'm saying? Make something happen to extend your marketing runway, whether that's picking up another job, whether that's adjusting, switching from one platform to another platform. You know what I'm saying? You go out there and look around like, man, I can move from this platform to this platform and I can keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I have to understand my runway and I have to understand, okay, even if it's me, I got this much time to figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'm finna have to make a move. And that's what I did. Like when I first got started, you know what I'm saying? Cold calling, even when I was texting, it was like, hey, look, this is in my budget. I got this much runway. You know what I'm saying? When I got my first deal, it's like, okay, I'm giving myself this much runway on this. Okay, boom. I'm going. Okay, boom. It turned into a deal. I give myself more runway. You know what I'm saying? It's I always give myself runway, man. You got to be able to see when the things is closing in on you. It's kind of like in football. You see the defender is closing in on you, man. You got to be able to identify when something is closing in on you, and you got to be able to make an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that at least that's what I think. But man, John Dope says, I'm loving the 10x rule book. Man, you gonna love that 10x. 10x rule gonna have you jumping up ready to go out here and conquer the darn world. I need to go back and read 10x rule and the 10x mentor. Appreciate the recommendation. No doubt, man. No doubt. It's one of the best books I can recommend to anybody, regardless of any goal or anything they're trying to do. Read the 10x rule. I don't care what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, that completely eliminates or negates runway, this, that, and the other. It's not even about like, man, they didn't just go hard. That's my point too, because obviously it is a scale, and whether it's Facebook, cold calling, text, whether it's this working out, that or the other, if you go 10x in any direction, you will see success. You will see success. But there are some, it's just like, I could go 10x in this direction, and success may look like it may be $100,000 a year. But if I go 10x in this direction, that's $1 million a year. See what I'm saying? It's just like.
But let me ask you this though, Cordero. If I get on the dollar and I put 10,000 people in there, right? And I'm dialing, you know what I'm saying? And I got, let's say I got 2 phone numbers, right? 2 phone numbers. I'm calling 10,000 people. I'm dialing maybe 4 hours a day, right? Calling. I ain't getting no deal. I'm finna do what Cordero said. I'm finna 10x. So I'm gonna put 100,000 people in the dollar, and I'm finna dial the mess out of them. I'm finna call for 8 hours a day, and I'm gonna get me a VA to also call for 8 hours a day, and I'm gonna keep the same 2 phone numbers in there, and we finna run it up. I'm a 10x. That's 10x, right?
That's a good point. No, it's not. But I guess I should explain this too. That's a very good point. 10x is 10x. 10x is 10x. Yeah. 10x isn't one particular, like if I'm in a dialer, it just means call more. 10x means 10x how many phone numbers that you're dialing with. You might need to go from 2 phone numbers to 20 phone numbers. You might need to add, like if you're going to add more leads, you need to go from 2 phone numbers to 20 phone numbers and call more. But not with that same 2, you know what I mean? And it might be, and I think also, like I said, you could still, and honestly, if you 10x'd it with just them 2 phone numbers, you would get something. You would get something. I mean, if you just call like way more people, but you really would be working against.
Probably get your number spam to mess out of.
I'm just saying, just 10x. I mean, you still would do something that you would do something, but it just be like, man, you're doing it wrong. That was my point.
Yeah, like, but I think I messed it up when I first started dialing though. Like I did that. While I was calling a bunch of people, didn't have enough phone numbers, and numbers got spammed, wouldn't get through to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Connection rate.
Exactly. It's just like, I got to make sure that I'm doing the right things.
Yeah.
Out there. Like if you get on any dialer from Mojo to Batch Dialer, they have onboarding. They're going to let you know, hey, you can't just use 2 phone numbers. Here's the rules. And when I got in the dialer, I was like, I made sure I knew that. How many phone numbers do I need to be calling people? Like what exactly absolutely is necessary? And then once you have all of those things and you doing the right way, you can't 10x incorrectly. You see what I'm saying? It's just like you can't say, man, if I want to, you driving and you in a NASCAR race, it's just like I want to go faster, but I'm going to use the wrong gas, but I want to go faster. It's like, no, you can't do that. So you got to make sure you're doing that. That was my point exactly. Make sure you're doing and controlling the controllables, essentially, when it comes to marketing, prospecting, or anything that you do in business. Just like, for example, if you're reaching out to buyers, that's not necessarily marketing, but that's networking, which is equally important. You can call more buyers, but if you calling them and your number keeps showing up as spam, that's a problem. If you call them and you're not saying the wrong thing, like the actual quality of the conversation, and you calling them like, I'm talking about like, I just really want to, I'm saying, I'm trying to work with you, you know what I'm saying? Like, work with me, like, let's do something. They're going like, what are you talking about? Working against yourself. And even if you have 100 more of those calls, if you don't learn that the quality of conversation needs to grow. And that was my point when I was saying, just like, I got to make sure to discern between, I'm getting impatient, intuition. I got to make sure I'm doing it right? Because just like, let's say, a lot of people, you want to get in shape or get back in shape. You say, man, I got to do this by this time frame. Your mind is like, go harder. What if you going hard? I just need to lift more weight. You're going to snap your shoulder up or something. You're going to, if you just saying, man, go harder. It's like, you got to go hard with the right technique.
Yeah.
And there are people who cut, like even professional fighters, like they cut down so fast and so quick without doing the right thing. You mess around, have a seizure because you was trying to dehydrate yourself. You're not getting the right, the balance of hydration and sodium in your body and all of that, electrolytes. And so all I'm saying is 10X only work if you do it the right way. You can't be doing it the wrong way. Then you're working against yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. Make sure you're getting traction. Because if you're getting traction, that's where you can double down on traction. You know what I'm saying? You put 10X effort in where you're getting traction. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure you're actually getting traction on something. Then that's when you want to 10X your efforts. So that's a big thing, man. So when you're out here marketing, make sure whatever marketing channel that you're doing, that you're actually getting traction in that form of marketing. And like Cardone said, if you're not getting traction, ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? Try to fix what you're doing wrong. And I think that's what's really going to lead you, down the right road to getting the leads that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, man, wholesaling, it's all about getting leads to come in. Like, you got to get leads. You need more leads. And
No, that's business, period.
Business, period.
All business is like generating customers, generating quality value business. And that's the heartbeat of any business. As a matter of fact, Grant Cardone is speaking of, I think he talks about this in the 10X rule, where he talks about a lot of people focus on customer satisfaction. A lot of people think about taking care. It's just like, if you're not generating new business, then your business is dying. It's what people don't think. You'll never be able to maintain. Your business is either growing or dying. It's never staying the same. Just like time, like you're never going to stay the same age. You're either getting older or you're dead. There's no, I'm just going to stay right here, 26. That's what I'm going to stay. I like it right here. No, right? And so you got to focus on generating new business, new leads. And I think, again, kind of to our point today, one of the things Byron mentioned earlier too is getting to the basics, getting back to the basics, mastering the basics, making sure you keep the basics in mind. Which brings me to 2 points that I want to make. One, I love, like Byron, it's like ultimately you find buyers who are actively buying right now, and then go look for what they're buying. And then from there, you just pick a marketing channel that will help you find what those people are buying. That's the basics of this business. And that's not changing. That's not going out of demand. That's actually more important now than it has been in a while, actually. Right? That's becoming more and more important. People who can generate leads, quality leads. And then the second thing that it makes me think about is, okay, one thing I realize is a lot of people, a lot of the big dogs that I study, a lot of people that I meet and interact with, they all have like a base, a foundational marketing channel that was like, this is going to be fixed. I might add PPC, I may add Facebook, I may try this, that, and the other. I may do commercials or billboards, but my texting is always going to be there. Like I text regardless. Or some people, it's mailers. Like no matter what I do, the base of my business is sending out these mailers. That's the lifeline. Some people it's cold calls. Some people, it's usually whatever they had success with first, and they kind of make, as time goes on, you make sure that you're doing the right things. You got the right equipment, and you're doing it the right way. So 10x in that regards is not really hard for you. And it's just a matter of knowing your numbers at that point and just making sure you keep track of those. But I think again in 10x rule, Grant Cardone even talks about, no, that was 10x mentor, wasn't it? When he was talking about you got to add multiple streams of income, which is kind of similar to multiple marketing channels, which is important. But just multiple streams of flow towards you. Do not, I forgot how he says it, but ultimately you can't sacrifice the first stream if you're trying to add a second one. Don't let the first stream die out when you adding up something.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, man, and the number one thing, man, is make sure you're always like constantly talking to people. Like that's like the biggest thing. It's like you got to be talking to people. The more that you talk to people, the more you're gonna be able to do deals. It doesn't matter if it's paid marketing, word of mouth, bandit signs, just walking around with I buy houses shirts on. You got to talk to people, period. Right? You got to talk to people. You got to constantly be contacting people in order to do deals. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to wholesaling or any kind of business. It's a contact sport. How many people can you contact? Constantly reaching out to people to make sure that people know who you are, what you do. So when it's time for them to need your service, whatever it is you're doing, then they think, oh man, or you either there or they're thinking about you. Like that's your goal. You either want to be there when they need your service or you want them thinking about you. One or the other.
Be top of mind. And again, that's what I was saying, like so powerful with the drip campaigns is because they really do handle a good deal of just like, how do I be present as much as I can, right? But I think it just talking to people. If we're talking about the one thing that's important, that's why we're saying how to market to people. I think this is turning less about like, let's say like functionally how to market, but just some truths that you need to understand about marketing or prospecting is the fact that it is the blood, it's the heartbeat. What's more important, your breath or your heartbeat? Which one would you say? Your heartbeat? Yeah, I mean, you can hold your breath, but you don't want your heart to stop beating.
Yeah, but how long can you hold your breath? Your heart can probably stop longer than holding your breath.
When's the last time your heart stopped? When's the last?
Damar Hamlin heart stopped, and they got him back.
Yeah, but I was holding my breath earlier, and all I had to do was start breathing again.
Hey, I wouldn't hold it for too long.
My heart to stop beating for. I don't know. That's a good point.
I'm pretty sure it's hand in hand. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if your heart stopped, you ain't breathing. And if you stop breathing, your heart probably gonna stop maybe at some point.
But that's what I'm saying. I can hold my breath right. I can start holding my breath right now, and there's some time. And if I hold it for long enough, yeah. But if my heart just stopped right now, we're not gonna have no couple minutes before.
Nah. Yeah.
Like that, we can hold his breath for like 3 minutes, but your heart can't, and it doesn't. Matter of fact, your heart is always beating, and if it doesn't, it's a problem. But you're not always breathing. Sometimes you hold your breath. When you're underwater, you hold your breath. I think it's breath. I think it's the heart beating. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I know. I just but still, my point is, whichever one is the most important, that's what generating new business is. That's what generating new leads. Matter of fact, my favorite quote, I don't know if I said it already, but it's the most important thing. But generating new leads is going to be the heartbeat, the lifeline, the blood to your business. And your number one job as CEO is to generate leads to the company that are easy to close. Who said
that? Must be somebody who's doing some business. I don't know. Who is it?
That's Grant Cardone. 10x mentor.
That would be Grant.
That's a Grant Cardone, and I think that's a really profound statement because the leads that's it. And that's what I said. I heard somebody say it like this: taking care of taking care of business doesn't take precedent over generating new business, right?
Yeah.
So that means once you get leads, like getting them, they under contract, get them to the closing table, transactional coordination, all of that stuff. That's important, but it's not more important than making sure your marketing is always crunk up.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to be more important than making sure that you generate new leads today. Like you got to get off in that dialer. You got to send out your texts. You got to send your mailers. You got to, and the skill set is get to a point where you can, your numbers well enough to where you can automate your marketing. That way it's always going. It's always going because that's what you're going to need to be able to continue. Like, just like your heart. You want your heart to always be. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole point. As a matter of fact, your heart and your breath, both of those things are automated. None of us are actively thinking, okay, my heart needs to beat and I need to be breathing. It just, our body has just automated it. You don't think, you just do it.
Yeah.
Because that important. And the most important things, you got to figure out how to get them to where they're just on autopilot. They're just going. You know your numbers first. Because you wouldn't just want to like, if your heart didn't know when to beat and it was just beating uncontrollably, you wouldn't just let it do its thing. You just
your heart kind of breathes on its own. You have more control over breathing.
You got more control over breathing, but you don't have to think about it.
You don't have to think about it unless you're thinking about it. I used to show my kids this little science video. We was in social studies, like where we was done teaching everything. We watched this little cool science fact videos, and the dude would always say like, and right now you are currently breathing manually. It's like, because if I make you think about it, then now you're breathing manually.
Yeah.
But like Cordero said, you want that marketing going where you ain't even thinking about it. It's going. Because if you start thinking about it, probably ain't going to be going. Like if you have to think about it, especially like every day, you have to sit here and think about it. It probably not going to run like you really want it to run. And that's on most stuff, not even just your marketing, acquisitions, dispositions, all your stuff. You want to create, that's why you want to create systems. This is why they say systems, because the system just runs. You know what I'm saying? You turn your car on, you don't have to sit there and make this start going and then that start going. It's like you turn that jigger on, this starts that, and it just runs. The car runs. It's a system, right? It's like, and your marketing is that thing that ignites the whole system. But that's why it's so important. If you can't get that thing ignited, man, the battery ain't gonna matter. The buffed up engine you got ain't gonna matter. The brand new tires you just put on that mug ain't gonna matter. Them spinners, riding spinners. We ride spinners. The spinners ain't gonna matter, man.
Don't stop.
It ain't gonna matter, man. You got to be able to. That thing gotta turn on. That thing gotta crank up, and that's your marketing, man. Like that's your marketing.
That's your lead generation.
Yeah,
that is lead generation. Because
baby,
it can be marketing, prospecting. Shout out to Rolex.
Always buying houses. He keep his stuff up there, man. I gotta be like Rolex, man. Rolex gonna wear a hat, shirt. Everywhere you see him, you ain't gonna see his face. You just gonna see we buy houses.
Real deal, like literally. How's him? You know what I mean? So, but I mean, and that in a sense is an automated form of lead generation. He don't think about it, put it on, and it's there. And if somebody would call him based on that, it wasn't something he had to put much thought into. So, and that's my point. It's like marketing, lead generation, or prospecting or whatever, however you get it, just figure out a way. But okay, before you automate it, you have to know the numbers first. This is why I always recommend that that's why I'm like, don't hire somebody to do something you haven't done, because if you haven't done it 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, you don't know the numbers. And so therefore, when you put people in place, you don't know if they're performing well. You don't know if they need to go harder. You don't know, and that's, you don't know if, oh man, I need to buy more phone numbers to call with. You don't know any of that because you hadn't spent time doing that yourself and building that out. So one of the most important things when it comes to automating your marketing or prospecting is first doing it enough to where you know the numbers. For example, when I would cold call them 4 hours a day, I realized, well, I just tell you now, like when I first realized this, like the first time numbers came up to me, when I first started in the dialer, and I realized every 150 dials, I get about, I think it was like 50 people and 30 to 50 people who answered, and out of that, I would get one lead. So I knew every 150 dials, I would get one lead. 150 to 200 dials would get me one lead, but it was usually, the better I got, it was every 150, right? So I knew if I wanted 2 leads a day, I needed to call 300 people. I knew that. And it was like clockwork. Once you know your numbers, those things fluctuate slightly, but they're within that range. Now today, I don't pay attention to the dials. I just pay attention to the amount of time. Now it's like every hour I'm in the dialer, I get one decent like lead. One like we need to start working on it. Might even need a dispo it lead, right? Every hour. And that's probably, I don't know how many dials. I need to check. It's probably the exact same. If I had to guess, it's probably the exact same. Probably like 150 dials. Now this isn't, out of 100, and it looks like this: 150 dials, 50 people answer the call. Of those 50 people, 30 of them not interested, wrong number, don't effing call me again. 20 of them, what's your price? What's your offer? Out of those 20, about 5 of them, I would consider selling or something like that, or even less than that, maybe like 3. It's like I would consider selling. Out of those 3, one of them is just like, well, I probably need to send them over to my CRM because either they're like, oh, I would consider selling, but call me back in a couple months or this, that, and the other. They nice. Oh, I know a guy who knows a guy who has a property, but I'll talk with him. I'll give him your contact. And then one of them just like, we actually having a real conversation. We've gone through the entire script and we get some traction. But I'm just giving that example because I know my numbers, right? And so that's kind of an example of those cold calling KPIs. And so that way, if I put somebody in there, maybe for me it's 150, but for a VA it's 300. But if I know every 300 people your dials, you're getting one lead, then if I need you to generate 2 leads per day, I need you to call 600, dial 600 people, or just it's about knowing the numbers before I can automate it. So that's just a big thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. You gotta know your stuff, and that's part of like just being obsessed with it and wanting to learn more about it and all that stuff, man. You got to be obsessed. Greg Cardone got another book called "Be Obsessed or Be Average," which is awesome. I'm about to go read some Grant Cardone, by the way. It's about to get heavy, Grant, on this thing, man. So, but yeah, man, I think this is good stuff today, man. We've been on here for almost 40 minutes, man. I needed to hit this and get off this mug, man. Just locked up a property that I'm gonna flip, so I'm excited about that. Finna look more into kind of what we can do with it. I think it's a cool property. It's a lot of cool features on the property. It's a bigger property. It's brick. You got a pool in the back. So I think it's gonna be a cool property, man. I'm working with my contractor. We do some good work together, man. Last time we hit a real good deal, so I think this is gonna be an even sweeter deal. I thought I was gonna have to pay a lot more for this property than what I actually did. So it turned out to be a good deal. So we'll see. But shoot, man. Appreciate y'all coming through, man. Cordero finna give us our quote of the day. And if he don't have one, then I'm gonna get one real quick. You got one?
I got one.
Go ahead, man.
Listen, the more leads you have, the less you need to sell. The more leads you have, the more opportunity you have. The more leads you have, the less you need to sell. Who said that one?
Grant Cardone, he all of it. Like it's like your problem isn't being able to close that one lead that you. The problem is you ain't got enough leads. You know what I'm saying? That's just like today. I had more than one appointment. I had more than one property I was looking at, but one of them ended up coming through. You know what I'm saying? So even though other ones was a disappointment, I'm not gonna purchase that property. Didn't work out. I still got a deal. You know what I'm saying? Because I have multiple properties that I'm looking at, multiple leads that's all going on at the same time. So, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to be good at doing. And that's how you do business, man. Create leads, generate leads, generate leads, generate leads. And I like what Grant Cardone said. That's closable. You have to generate leads that you can actually close. You know,
Yeah,
you
but
generate, you generate leads that you can't close. That ain't no good.
no, that's major. And I think the one thing that was the original quote we said your number one job as CEO is to generate leads to the company that are easy to close.
Easy to close.
And he's saying the more, how do you accomplish that? The more leads you have, the less you need to sell. Like the less of a salesman and the less like, oh, I need to be a wordsmith and I need to talk perfectly and I gotta fight. Just like the more leads you have, that's what you want. And so if I was gonna say if there's one thing to focus on, it's just generate leads and focus more on that, and the rest will take care of itself. Just
Yeah,
focus on that.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, man. So that's what we have for y'all today, man. I think this was a good one. Really, I think both of us thinking even like deeper into kind of the mindset of what goes on inside of marketing and what we think about, how we make decisions and stuff like that. So I think it was really good. But man, appreciate y'all coming through. Rolex, Bobby Mack, Zay came through out there in the land. And John Doe came through, man. Appreciate y'all coming through. But until tomorrow, man, peace out.
I like y'all.